would they have had any control over that? Because when REM came on, I was like, what the fuck is REM doing on in the Gap? Don't these guys know that this is a joke?
None whatsoever. They have no control whatsoever. It's a public performance. You get it like every. So here we are at part 2 or part 3 of this episode,
where John sticks up for the horse. Go ahead.
No, I mean, it is what it is. People sign a contract, and that's what they agreed to. So you got to live by that. But I always wanted to know, like when I heard, I forget what song. I've been to Whole Foods and heard some amazing music that I didn't expect.
But no, so what happens? I mean, because I know it's like you're not going to have credit, but an artist as big as Coldplay, like their music, like I've never been in a Home Depot without hearing friggin' Coldplay.
And they have no control over that.
So what happens is there's companies. So I mean, obviously you could program whatever you want in your store. The same way you can't say you can't play my music in your bar, right? It's like you can't put that on the jukebox. So the fact that in the same way I think everything is ruined by people turning it into a process. There are companies that do nothing but brand management and they soundtrack stores. And as part of controlling, like, Cracker Barrel brand or a particular chain of hair salons or whatever, it's all lifestyle. And so it smells a certain way. Every store will smell the same. They will all also have a soundtrack that gets sent around. And there's companies, I don't remember which company, they do. You sit down and you consult. Well, what's your lifestyle? What type of people do you have in there? So, okay, so we're going to program music for that and blah, blah, blah. And literally, now they stream it. Spotify has a service. It's called like Soundtrack Your Brand. Your Brand is the name of the service they have. And you could buy it. And we all knew it as kids as Muzak, right?
Yeah.
There was a company Muzak that did it. But there's all these different companies that would pump it in, right? And it used to be the concept was let's make it non-distracting, and you get Montavani and that.
My wife used to work for General Background Music, which was a local.
Absolutely.
But Muzak was other people performing the songs on Valium, right?
But if you think about it, though, Doug, that's even more offensive than playing the original version. When that would become to me that would be a bigger problem of. You're going to take my career as opposed to just playing. You're going to just think about the other side. It's like
if you want to soundtrack it, fine. But if you change it, right?
I don't know. The Muzak version of Tangerine by Zeppelin is
I heard a couple years ago. I was in a Whole Foods and I heard Bauhaus, and I was like, what is going on here?
You were in a Whole Foods, dude. That was.
Yeah. My wife has certain dietary restrictions.
No, I'm not accusing you of that, but that's why you heard Bauhaus, because this is the worst thing about all this is when you go in and you're like, oh, I'm going to go into this shitty store and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, and you realize I go in here like 3 times a week and they play the specials. It's like, I come in here 3 times a week.
Well, John, guys,
stereotype in here.
What could be creepier than the fact that Spotify has been making some fantastic recommendations of music it thinks I'll like.
They bought a company a few years ago that wish I could remember the name, but that specializes in nothing but building musical algorithms. And
interesting. And you're finding you like it, because I usually find it insulting.
Chris, literally, Spotify was calling me on the phone, telling me to listen to Big Thief for weeks. It kept coming up, Big Thief, not coming up special, but it'd be like, you might like this. Yeah. Here's Big Thief. Big Thief shows up on my, music feed. And I played Big Thief and I'm like, holy shit, what a great band.
So here, this is my, I know, Chris, you're not a Spotify user really, but this is every week I get a playlist that shows up every Monday morning. And it's called Discovery Weekly. And what it's generally based on is obviously this music I listen to. But then what's human about it is, okay, this is music that John seems to listen to multiple times. Let me find the other people that listen to this music multiple times and find songs that John doesn't listen to that seem to match with people that listen to like 5 the same things that John listens to. So it's actually data mining. It's not just, you like it, because when it first started, you would get crap like, you like
Wilco?
No,
and you're like, thank you.
No, not even. No, of course you would get. You listen to the Yardbirds. You might like Led Zeppelin. Like, duh. This is my list. My list is David Johansen, Elvis Costello, Ronnie Hawkins, Alex Chilton, the Dirt Bombs, Swamp Dog, Small
I was just
Faces,
listening to the Dirt Bombs before we started tonight.
the Music Machine, Dead Kennedys, Bell and Sebastian, Bobby Charles, Porter Wagner, Radio Birdman, Taj Mahal, 13th Floor Elevator, The Beta Band, Tom Petty, Humble Pie, Liz Phair, Jacques Dutronc, The Rulers, Robert Gordon. I mean, that's a pretty freaking wicked mix of music that, and almost every single one of the things is like, yeah, that's good stuff. And because we know a ton about music, it's pretty rare that something comes up where you haven't heard anybody before. But when it's a name you don't recognize, you're like, how come I never heard of this person before? This is so up my alley.
Yeah, but then you ask your friends, and they're like, "Yeah, I told you about them years ago."
How come I never listened to Liz Phair? I don't know.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
But I know what my profile is. I've never looked it up, but Spotify knows that I like heavy guitar-centric music with somewhat more literary lyrics, often with an angular-sounding singer.
But I'm telling you, Doug, what they recommend has nothing to do with what it sounds like, but it's what other people
are
have
listening.
your habit.
Right. Yeah, well, they've pegged me. I'm gonna say at least 70% of the time I'll be like, "Hey, that is pretty good. I'm glad you told me about that, Spotify. Thank you."
It is getting late, and we're in our 2-hour. We're in.
Thank you for that story, Doug. That was great. That was really, really great. A highlight of the entire podcast.
Yeah, the
good stuff all around.
The Doug Dresher backstory.
But to assuage my need to go into therapy, I did love him with all my heart. He was a good dad when there were times to be good dads. There was just some anger issues that we all have to deal with.
Well,
that aside, we never went without.
And you took it out on all the Oaklanders that came, and
it is.
When you started cutting heads,
Yeah, there it is. I got that 74 Strat, and I was the king of my nobody. Whoever wanted to came to my garage.
Did folks buy you that? Was that a present, or did you save up for that?
I was such a pussy. I would weep that I needed a Stratocaster. I would lay on the floor of my bedroom and have a tantrum, and then the night. It was the live broadcast of Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel's reunion
Central
in the park, right? He comes out with a white Stratocaster, and I'm screaming at the TV, "That's the Stratocaster I want! That's the Stratocaster I want! I need that! I can't live without it!" And then they were able to come up. It must have been a stunning amount of money at the time. So I would have been a junior in high school, right? So I'm 17 because I had my license. They gave me $350.
I was just going to say about $300. Yeah.
And I went to that guy who sold vacuums on Broadway outside of Patterson and Fairlawn, who sold used guitars. And it was the first Strat I touched. It was the 74 hardtail Strat with a black pickguard, and I switched it to white because I thought the black was too dark. And that was my main and only main guitar probably until
you played church and lit it on fire.
No. I had that guitar until 95. I'm going to say till about 1998, 1999. And then I was in between earning opportunities and sold it for like $3,000 because I had to pay the mortgage.
You had to buy some dope. We know.
I wish it was that simple.
Yeah.
But it gave me everything it had. It was time to set it free.
Well, who's to say you're not going to get that thing back at some point?
I look all the time on Reverb because I know just where the scratches are. But right now, if they put the original pickguard back on, I don't have the $4,500 to buy it.
So where did it go, Doug? Do you remember? Was it like a local sale at the time?
I took it to Samash on
Route 4.
No. I went up towards Somerset County. I forget the name of that highway.
22.
Oh, it was a Guitar Center. I'm sorry, Guitar Center.
On 22.
No. I don't remember the road off. You would take it to go up to Somerset off of 287.
206.
Something like that.
Anyway.
I've had the little idea for a while. We need to have a national guitar registry. It can be done on a Google site or a Google page, you know, you put in your guitar name, your number, and serial number, and you put whatever name you want to associate with it.
Amber Alert for a white Strat.
Yeah, that way you could track.
Oh, that was
all
so
kinds.
you know what? Somewhere I have the serial number. The other guitar I played for many years, E515822, serial number was the Strat that Neil helped me buy from Victor's House of Music.
Sure,
where the Japanese
Ridgewood.
Strats were the first ones that came out. It's hanging behind me.
I own a very early Japanese Strat.
Yeah, we have the MIJ Strats. I have made my poor wife pay dearly for me selling that guitar. Every 2 years I have a midlife crisis.
Oh, for the mortgage, the one you sold for the mortgage.
I've had a midlife crisis where I ended up with a gorgeous Fuji camera. I had a midlife crisis where I ended up with a hand-wired 20-watt amplifier.
You've got the art guitar, and I know that you have some real nice guitars that you love, as we all do. On the other hand, do you own like a super vintage guitar?
Not anymore. Well,
nothing.
The funny thing is that. Hey, my daughter's saying goodnight. The funny thing is that the art guitar, your Japanese guitar from 82, 83, 84 would be considered vintage by all standards now. That guitar worth's about $1,700.
I'm aware.
No. But 2 years ago, I decided that I needed an American made guitar. Not that the other ones were bad, but it was time for a guitar. And I bought an American Elite Strat with the noiseless pickups. And the day I got it home, I opened it up. I sold the noiseless pickups immediately on eBay and bought a Fender Vintage Custom Shop.
Oh, nice.
It's called Pure Vintage 65, which I think are the finest Strat pickups you could ever hear. And now that summer's by, I'll show you this real quick. I know it's time to go soon.
We're cutting all this out. This is guitar talk. It's not.
Oh, good.
Beatdown
So
talk.
this is a guitar. I bought this as a raw body and then sanded it and painted it Fiesta red, but I had a Kaler in it. So my summer project is I'm going to fill in this giant hole here and put in a vintage Strat tremolo. So there's a body there. This is a gorgeous Strat neck, signed by 257.
Old number 257.
257.
I think that's the highway you're in.
Right. So I get bored. I need little projects. My wife either loves me for that or just puts up with that.
Let me wind up the show, and then we can stop tape, but we can continue the talk here.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. It wasn't as combative as I think I had been warned, but I thoroughly enjoyed the robust argument about the Stones, and then we put that aside and talked about some other important stuff.
Right
Next
to Bob
time
Dylan.
we'll have you, like I told you, I want to hear your thoughts on Pete Townsend and stuff like that, because we'll save that.
Don't start it back up, guys.
That's okay.
Got it.
Yeah, we're gonna wind up this episode for today, and thank our guest Doug Dresher, the multi-talented artist, Renaissance man, as I like to call him. Thank you for coming on
Founder
and listen.
Corvette's Record Bin.
The Corvette's Record Bin, and also his podcast. Listen to it. Where can they find the podcast?
I'm on Asbury Park Vibes, APVIBES.com. There's 4 or 5 of us who do podcasts for Asbury Park Vibes. Mine's called Seen and Heard. If you have any desire to look through a few thousand photographs,
you should definitely
DresherPhoto.com.
Yep, you should definitely look at it. He's an amazing photographer.
Friday night was the first night I've been out in 16 months. Took pictures of live band playing.
You haven't lost a thing.
I had such a great time. Thank
Nice.
God for painkillers, right?
That's great. Well, I want to thank you for coming on, and you'll definitely,
Thank you, Tony.
like our other guests, you'll definitely be back in in a future episode. And we got more.
Right? This is a sister episode, so we're each broadcasting on each other's, right? So plug the beat down.
Yeah. So
definitely.
Well, I'm gonna give it the spiel. You've been listening to the Beatdown. This is the Beatdown is available on Apple, Google, Castbox, and Stitcher. Subscribe to us and know when a new episode is available. Send me an email to the Beatdown Music Podcast at Gmail, and you'll get a sticker. You want to send me your address, I'll mail you out a sticker. And please, if you, I ask at the end of every show, if you're would subscribe to us, review our show. It helps when people search